brief as I can be in summing up quite a long book that was the result of an awful lot of research.
I'm taking a risk here, I know, but please try.
But I'll do my best. Yes, the book in question actually, of course, isn't about the EU really almost at all. The EU as a structure does crop up intermittently in The Strange Death of Europe. But really, it's an analysis of what I see as being a set of fundamental questions which Europeans have dodged answering for some years. Let me give you an example of the sort of thing I'm talking about. I was in Doha last year speaking at a debate about migration. We were talking about migration across the Middle East, obviously countries taking in people or not taking in people and so on. And there was a statistic I cited there which remains pertinent, which has come out since The Strange Death of Europe, which was a Gallup poll that was taken last January in Africa. And it found that 1/3 of people in sub-Saharan Africa want to move. Now, that's a very large number of people. It's a number of people that's going to significantly increase in the years ahead. And of course, people in question don't want to move to the freedom of the Middle East. They don't want to move to the Gulf states. They primarily want to move north to Europe, and I don't blame them. My book, The Strange Death of Europe, among other things, just asked very fundamental questions, which is, could Europe, for instance, take all of these people? And currently our leaders and our intellectuals, our thinkers, and our thought leaders are incapable really of answering this question. The answer has to be no, but we don't know how it can be no, because our liberalism, in the good sense, wishes us to be open-armed. Yet we know we can't be. And so we live in this hypocritical state for the time being, which is what I expose, what I write about, and what in The Strange Death of Europe I suggest is a serious contention.
But why exactly is it a strange death?
Oh, lots of reasons. English readers know the phrase to be borrowed from a famous work of a century ago called The Strange Death of Liberal England, which was is a famous work of history in English.
But in this particular case?
It's in this particular case, it's because it is curious. It is curious that Europeans find it so hard to argue for themselves, to defend what is good in their own culture. I think that there's an embarrassment, an uncertainty about who we can share it with. We've basically, among other things, massively overestimated our capacity to bring people in and underestimated the changes that brings about. And by the way, I don't see this as being a right-wing, left-wing thing. It's not a populist versus other people thing. It's a problem and a question that has to be confronted in Europe, and which I try to open out and explore, and which obviously has a huge audience of other people who wish to explore it. But there remains a deep unease in the political level across all countries in our continent about how precisely we can talk about this most difficult of issues.
Just to be sure, you mentioned migration as one of the most important threats to Europe, but you also claim in your book that the history of Europe is characterized by immigration and influences from outside. What exactly is the difference then with the immigration today?
I'll give you an example. For instance, in Britain, we still talk about the Norman Conquest. It was quite an important story in the history of these islands. And the Norman Conquest, which happened 1,000 years ago, and as I say, which is still news here, as it were, is thought to have churned about 5% of the population in the UK. That is, that this massive effect that we still talk about of Norman entry into the UK, as we now call it, was around 5% of the population shifted. And when you look at migration post-war in any European country, you're talking about much more significant percentages than that. And so I suggest that in historical terms, what we have been doing in recent decades, not through any particular grand evil plan, but just through incompetence and goodwill and things running away and bureaucracies that don't know how to deal with things and kick cans down the road in order that their successors will deal with difficult questions that they don't wish to deal with themselves. As a result, all of these things have happened, and on a historical level, they are at a speed and at a rate which is highly uncommon in history.
In order to come...
We will make America great again.